The story begins in a world divided between humans and demons. A long time ago, the two races lived in peace and would even help each other out now and then. However, one day, humans found an immortal ore inside a cave, and with this ore, they created magical treasures capable of casting all sorts of spells. Soon a commander orders the 4th Regiment to activate the magical treasures. So, the human soldiers start firing energy blasts with their new weapons. With this newfound power, humans began to invade the demon race to get more resources. On top of that, they took over 90% of the territory and herd a whole lot of demons. However, the heavens decided to level the playing field between the two races. That's when our main character was born to change the game. Showing his hand, he begins to concentrate a massive amount of energy. The red energy grows stronger and stronger around our boy. Before him stood an entire army of human soldiers, ready for battle. And so, with a single strike, he launches a powerful beam toward his enemies. Our hero's attack plows forward, tearing up the battlefield. The commander and her soldier are in shock at what they just witnessed. From a distance, they see the trail of destruction the young man's blow caused, and a huge explosion erupts right in the middle of the soldiers' formation. The commander, now desperate, contacts the main base. She warns them that the boy has gotten stronger, and now the human race is in serious trouble. Back in his hometown, our hero is greeted by an excited crowd chanting his name. However, Lin Potian doesn't seem happy about this whole reception and has a dumbfounded look on his face. He then asks why they threw a ceremony, but his disciple says he's now the emperor's favorite. This is Muku, our boy's only disciple, and he explains that the nobles came running, chasing clout. On top of that, the crowd also congratulates Lin Potian's parents for having such an amazing son. Our MC complains that nobody cared about him when he was broke, and his fiancée says this is actually a pretty small turnout. She is Dan Yinduo, Lin Potian's fiancée, and she advises him not to reject the nobles outright. Right after, the patriarch of the Horse clan offers 20 limited edition sports cars, and the Bear clan offers a position as a martial arts instructor for 3 billion a year. But the Dragon clan thinks that's chump change and offers 20 mansions, saying our hero deserves it. Lin Potian gets embarrassed and says that to make friends, all you need is sincerity. And speaking of sincerity, a group of demon girls shows up to offer their hearts. One of them then asks if her heart is sincere enough, and our boy says he has a girlfriend. Suddenly, the eldest princess arrives, and everyone clears a path for her. Our MC greets her formally, but she tells him not to worry about all that. The princess then says that her father, the emperor, sent her to invite him to the palace. However, Lin Potian refuses the invitation, as it's not the time to celebrate, and it would affect the army's morale. The princess blushes and says she expected that answer from him, so she accepts his refusal, and the nobles comment that he even turned down the princess for his fiancée. Apparently, someone didn't like that one bit and snapped the 20-centimeter heel of her shoe. Suddenly, a Horse clan girl loses her balance when the heel of her shoe breaks. She was wearing a very flashy red dress as she fell. However, our hero, with his quick reflexes, manages to catch the young woman in mid-air. He then gently asks if she's okay after the big scare. The girl confirms she's fine, and the crowd watches the whole scene from a distance. But the leader of the Bear clan gets the wrong idea, and his jaw drops. He yells that Lin Potian's secret fetish is for horse girls, and the gossip spreads like wildfire. Then, the demon girls start putting on black stockings to please our hero. The leader of the Dragon clan sends his men to fetch girls who are already prepped. Our MC gets annoyed with the media frenzy, and his disciple tries to calm him down. Right after the chaos, Lin Potian's parents say their goodbyes and go to cook. Night then falls over the city, and the mountains become covered in clouds. Meanwhile, the demons celebrate another victory and the strength of their lord. Our boy and his fiancée take a stroll through the city, enjoying the fireworks. The entire city is celebrating, with lights and festivities everywhere. Muku says goodbye to go see the lion dance, and tells them he'll meet them at home. Lin Potian goes to get his parents, and Dan Yunduo promises to wait for dinner. And nearby, people watch in awe the traditional lion dance. In a temple, the demon race gives thanks for no longer being oppressed. And finally, the entire city celebrates the new era of peace with a grand fireworks display. Our hero walks through the crowd, thinking about his life's journey, He then reflects that the demon race has finally reached its peak. On top of that, he can't imagine how the humans could possibly turn the tables, because in the next battle, he will invade the capital and bring peace to his family. And his parents, who used to work so hard, now no longer have to worry. RMC then starts to remember when he left for the war. His parents called out to him worriedly in front of their old, humble home. Back then, he told them the family didn't need him to go to the army. A young Lin Potian had teary eyes as he said his goodbyes, and his parents begged him not to fight on the front lines so he wouldn't get hurt. Back in the present, he holds gifts he received from the people and smiles happily. He is very satisfied with his life and walks home thinking about his parents. Arriving at the door, our boy gets ready to go in and see his family, but something feels wrong, and he senses danger when he hears a fate call. Looking inside, he sees a horrific scene with his mother telling him to run. His parents were tied up and badly injured in the middle of a huge mess. His father, with his last bit of strength, also begs his son to get out of there. Suddenly, a powerful energy attack is fired in his direction. Our MC is shocked and horrified by the surprise attack. Then, with a heart full of hatred, he unleashes a wave of explosions. Our hero then realizes there was a hidden poison in his parents' bodies, and a purple smoke starts to rise from his body, showing he's been infected. From a distance, a girl laughs maniacally and celebrates that he fell for the bait. She reveals that she created 300 types of deadly poisons especially for our boy. This is Shiarui, humanity's #1 poison sealer and the creator of the plague, and so she and her companions watch the poison spread across the mountain. Meanwhile, an army of human soldiers kneels in reverence. They are before the image of a man with red eyes and a large beard. This is Wang Feng, the demon sealing king, and he orders them all to attack. The soldiers then ready their weapons and aim at our MC, and they fire a volley of immortal or bullets with full force. Our boy is hit by several shots at once and is badly injured. One of the shots manages to go right through his arm, and he feels immense pain. Even poisoned and down an arm, he continues to fight bravely. A soldier comments that the poison is working, because he wouldn't normally get injured like this. Another shot comes his way, but he braces himself to fight back. The soldiers then shout that they need to take this chance to finish him off. Our hero then uses all his strength to fly far away from the battlefield. However, he's not running away. He looks down with a gaze of pure vengeance, but a massive cage of green energy appears and traps him in the sky. Then, a sealing art using sky lanterns is activated against our hero. The soldiers prepare for the attack, as Shiarui has gathered all the rope-type magical treasures. With that, our MC is bound by several energy ropes and can't move, and the soldiers are ordered to pull the ropes with all the strength they have. Our boy's face fills with rage as he tries to resist the trap, but the force is so great that he's pulled downward, destroying part of the mountain. Seeing this, a soldier orders everyone to hurry up and finish him off for good. However, even trapped, our hero raises his hand, which begins to glow intensely. He is dragged into a dark pit by the energy ropes that still hold him. Suddenly, his hand glows even brighter, preparing a powerful counter-attack. He realizes it's an ambush and, with a punch, opens a hole to escape from below. But beneath him, another magical treasure, the Qiankan cloth, was waiting to seal him. Then, Shiarui orders the magical treasure regiment to attack in unison. One of the soldiers takes the opportunity to shove a spear into his gut, and others surround him with their weapons, ready to deliver the final blow to Lin Potian. In response, our hero claps his hands together and activates his demonic magic with everything he's got. A golden energy explodes from him and takes the form of a large, shining flower. With the 100 birds flying technique, he creates a massive energy vortex. The attack sends the soldiers flying and creates several fire birds across the sky. The soldiers realize it's an escape technique and order everyone to capture all the birds. The fire birds explode with full force against the green energy net. One of them manages to slip through a small gap and flies away quickly. The soldiers are stunned by its speed and wonder how it's even possible. Another soldier then realizes that his body is already adapting to the toxins. And with a final push, the bird manages to break through the barrier and escape for good. Soon, the birds merge and transform into a warrior with a monkey's tail. Our hero finally lands on the ground and seems to have escaped the trap. He then celebrates the success of his escape plan and breathes a small sigh of relief. However, Shioroi appears in the sky and asks where he thinks he's going. Our MC looks back terrified as he realizes he hasn't escaped at all. Far away, Muku shouts for help and summons the elite of the demon race. He points to the mountain and warns everyone about the attack on Lord Lin Potian. Meanwhile, the villainess greets our boy with a very creepy smile on her face. Our MC's face is bruised, and he looks like he's lost all hope. With the young man defeated, she asks if he has any last wishes. He then says that in his entire military career, he never once harmed a civilian, and he continues, saying that his parents and his wife were also just ordinary people. The villainess is surprised and says she was just being polite, as she didn't actually expect an answer. But our hero begs her to please leave the other demons in peace. Then, Shioroi reveals that the plan to eliminate his family was her idea. Our hero is in shock as the villainess says his very existence is a huge threat. She goes on to explain that his genes are a danger to all of humanity, and for that reason, she raises her weapon and declares that his entire family must be eliminated. Right after, a soldier calls her on the radio to give a mission report. He informs her that all 43 relatives of Lin Potian's grandfather have been captured, and another soldier reports that the 57 relatives of his maternal grandfather have also been rounded up. On top of that, his fiancé Dan Yunduo's family was also caught, and she screams for him to run. Without a shred of remorse, Shioroi orders her soldiers to take them all out. Then, the soldiers attack the defenseless demons, who scream in pain and despair. They also open fire on the civilians with their firearms without any mercy, and a terrible scene unfolds, with many demons being gravely injured. Cries of agony echo throughout the mountain as the fire spreads. With everyone eliminated, the villainess dismisses her soldiers, and the mission is complete. Our hero has no strength left, and his consciousness begins to fade. In his final moments, he apologizes to His Majesty, the Emperor. He laments that the demon race was just one step away from achieving peace, and he also apologizes to his family for not being able to give them a good life. He then remembers his fiancée who, since she was little, had asked him to marry her. Our MC has a memory of when they were children and shared a kiss, and he remembers her father chasing him with a broom for seducing his daughter. In his final moments, our hero laments that he couldn't get married. His fiancé, Dan Yunduo, lies lifeless on the ground along with the other demons. Ants are already starting to crawl on his face as his vision goes dark. He then tells Shioroi that demons have a legend about reincarnation, but the villainess scoffs at him and says, "Maybe in your next life," with a cruel smile. She even promises that not a single chromosome of his family will be left. Our boy's consciousness fades, and he sees shining coins falling around him. Suddenly, he wakes up in a strange place, covered in these coins. He's in a small paper boat on a river with other souls, and asks where he is. Then, a mysterious creature appears and says, "This is the path to the afterlife." The entity introduces himself as King Yanlo and confirms that Lin Potian has passed on. Our hero is surprised that the king actually exists and remembers praying to him. He then asks if this is really the path to the afterlife. Yanlo explains that he needs to wait for his boat to reach the end of the river to be reincarnated, and to the young man's despair, that's going to take about 500 years. Lin Potian is furious and screams that he wants his revenge now, not in 500 years. Because he was so incredible in life, Yanluo offers him a status ad program. Our MC has no idea what that means and asks for an explanation. The king explains that he can distribute points into attributes for his next life. Even the most excellent people who arrive here only get 5 points at most. But to everyone's surprise, our MC is a very different case. He has 1,028 points, and without a second thought, he yells that he wants time. Then, filled with rage, he starts mashing the button to speed up his reincarnation. Our hero says he can get the rest with talent and hard work. He just needs time, and he continues to spend all his points to shorten the long 500-year wait. With that, his little paper boat starts to speed up, going faster and faster down the river. He's already spent 68 points, and his boat gets an extra boost. Just like that, the reincarnation time drops to 471 years. Without stopping for a second, our boy keeps frantically pressing the button. The other souls on the river are left behind, completely confused about what's happening. His boat then transforms into a paper airplane, and the time drops to 312 years. He yells that it doesn't matter if he's born with nothing, because his revenge is more important. Because even if all he has left are his teeth, he will bite his enemies' necks. Meanwhile, in the world of the living, Shia suddenly goes into labor. Our MC's boat now turns into a speedboat, cutting through the water at full throttle. With 993 points spent, the time drops to 27 hours. The villainous henchmen start to panic because it's too late and they need a bed. Our hero's eyes glow with an unwavering determination filled with hatred. His boat then turns into a rocket and finally reaches the end of the River of Souls. A light appears in the darkness, and our MC is about to be reborn. Our hero reaches the other side of life and spends all of his points. He then faces his rebirth with a look full of hatred and vengeance. A bright light begins to shine, and his soul enters the new body. The glow becomes so intense that it blinds everything around, completing the transition. Meanwhile, in the world of the living, a man shouts that the baby's head is out. The doctor then holds the newborn and congratulates everyone on the baby boy. Our boy is confused and wonders if this is really his next life. He is handed to his mother and wonders if he's human or demon now. But upon seeing the woman's face, he is completely shocked and speechless. Because his new mother is Shia, the villainess who ended his past life. She finds him so cute that she says she wants to eat him up, and our hero is terrified. Suddenly, King Yanlo appears before him and greets him again. The entity then confirms that the young man's reincarnation was successfully completed. However, now he's going to take away all the memories of his past life for good. Our MC starts to panic as his mother celebrates that she now has a son. Yanluo explains that she can't see him and that he shouldn't be offended. And with his glowing staff, he touches the baby's forehead to erase his memory. Shia is startled by the bright light coming from her newborn son. Then an explosion of energy occurs, sending the henchmen flying. The king is forcefully pulling the memories from our boy's head. Our hero's memories are pulled out in bubbles of energy. He realizes his power is also being extracted along with the memories of the villainess. So, the young man refuses to lose his chance for revenge and fights back with everything he's got. With his tiny hand, he grips King Yanluo's staff tightly and doesn't let go. The king says that erasing memories is standard procedure and that mortals can't resist. Annoyed, Yanluo tells the boy to let go immediately because he's getting in the way. He then yells that he just wants to finish his shift and go home already. The story flashes back to 2.5 years ago in the demon territory. A powerful man appears in the sky, his eyes glowing with pure energy. He is Yan Chong, one of the 12 stars of natural disaster, and the strongest of the humans. His rock-covered body crumbles away, and he levitates in the air with immense power. With a gravity-based magical treasure, he lifts a giant meteor from the ground. A massive wave of fire forms around the rock in the blue sky, and with the starfall strike, he launches the fireball to destroy the demon race. Fortunately, the young Lin Potian was on guard and launched a small green dragon. The creature then grows and becomes a huge celestial dragon guardian. The news of his feat spreads, and an important leader orders his promotion. Thus, our hero and the 12 stars became destined enemies, fated to fight. Another star, Lengqiankyo, creates a giant tsunami to drown the demons, and in the middle of the crowd, our MC prepares to face the wave. Our hero concentrates a great blue energy in his hand, but he could only seal the 12 stars of natural disaster. With his power, he sealed Lengqiankyo in the giant tsunami. Another star was Zen Master Shihang, who created earthquakes. He was also sealed by our hero in April of 760. Then in May, he sealed Tian Taizui, the active volcano, in a lava pit, and Yao Yao, the devouring swamp, was sealed in August of the following year. Soon after, the ancestor of the deadly plague was trapped in a golden cube. One by one, he sealed all 12 stars of disaster. However, with Lin Potian's passing, one of the seals broke. The demonic magic that maintained the seals lost its master and vanished. Because of this, Lengqianki's ice prison began to crack. With an explosion, she finally breaks free from her frozen prison. Soon, all the other seals of the stars also shattered. Yao Yao, who was sealed in the swamp, also managed to escape, and Zen Master Shihang breaks the chains that had bound him. And so, all 12 stars of natural disaster were set free. Back in the afterlife, The baby says they got lucky. He then grabs the staff and collects back his memories and powers. A red explosion of energy sends King Yanlo flying away. King Yanlo is shocked and can't believe what's happening. Then, with great force, the baby starts to pull the beam back, and with one final tug, he manages to rip the needle from his forehead. Yanlo gets angry but then remembers a very important detail, because half of his power was used to seal the 12 stars. He then yells at Lin Potian to stop being arrogant and take a look at himself, because his baby body can't handle that much magical power at once. And before he can pull out the needle, he will burn himself out completely. The king then screams that his past life is over, and for him to just accept it. However, the baby makes a face of pure fury and refuses to give up. Then, an explosion of power erupts from him with all sorts of different colors, and all that energy concentrates into a very bright ball of light. Our MC then says that he will never accept his fate. He reminds Yanluo that according to the legends, he only handles reincarnation because the gods have their tasks clearly divided among themselves. And for that reason, Yanlo can't meddle in the affairs of the living world. And so, our hero will scatter his power cores across the world, and when he grows up, his memories will guide him to reclaim his power. Besides, he doesn't believe he was reborn as his enemy's son by chance. Finally, he promises to settle the score with King Yanlo himself one day. The baby then scatters all of his power cores across the world. Meanwhile, King Yanlu just watches the comets of energy fly by. All over, people fight to grab one of these powers for themselves. One young man even shouts for his brother who went after one of the comets. On top of that, an officer celebrates because now he will be the strongest. That night, the demons saw the cores streaking across the sky. They then looked up at the lights that once belonged to Lin Potian. Everyone stood still, not understanding what was happening. Soon after, the population realized the sad and unacceptable reality, and Muko, our hero's disciple, screams in despair for his master, because their great hero had fallen, and his power now landed on the earth. In the afterlife, King Yanluo continues to watch everything from a distance. He looks at the baby on the ground and says the kid was incredible. Our MC is exhausted, and his eyelids feel heavy. His consciousness weakens, and his memories of his past life fade away. Soon, he closes his eyes and seems to have finally lost the fight. Nearby, his new mother, Xiarui, is down but still conscious. She then drags herself with difficulty across the dirt and dust-covered ground. With a terrifying smile, she reaches out her hand to grab her son, and with a look of pure evil, she finally reaches the baby. The baby thinks that he's forgetting the woman's face, but it doesn't matter, because when he grows up, he'll get everything back, and she will pay for what she did. Meanwhile, the soldiers don't understand the explosion and just want to survive, but suddenly Muku appears, crying and screaming for revenge. He attacks the soldiers with his magic, and one of them tells Xiarou to run. With his 100-toed whip, he punishes all the enemies around him. The boy then finishes off all the troops that were still in the area. Our MC recognizes his disciple and is surprised by his arrival. Muku charges forward with his whip towards Xiarui and the baby. Our boy gets worried because Muku won't be able to reincarnate again. Suddenly, the whip turns against Muko and binds him tightly. The attack also hits Xiarui, who curses the baby with hatred in her eyes. Mukuo is trapped in his own thorns and writers in pain. Even while suffering, he maintains a determined and rage-filled gaze. He then remembers his master teaching him not to harm the weak. Lin Potian had also advised him never to become like the humans. Back in the present, Muku screams in pain in his final moment, and his body is completely destroyed by his own magic. Our MC watches everything, unable to do anything to help. With a wicked smile, Xiarui uses an escape talisman to get away. A large explosion goes off on the ground where Muku was, and only the remains of his thorned whip are left at the site. Muku then looks at the hole and realizes it's all over. He is left alone in the middle of the desolate and sad battlefield. Then, the boy cries for having lost his master and his parents. With Lin Potian's passing, the demons propose peace to the humans. However, humanity does not accept and launches a counter-attack. But our hero had already prepared a response for this. He injected all of his power into the celestial dragon Guardian. The dragon then reaches its maximum size with immense power. The creature dives into the earth, causing a massive tremor. The ground around the demon capital begins to crack, and suddenly, a giant dragon emerges from the depths of the sea. The demons are startled by the creature's appearance, and the entire capital begins to be lifted from the ground. With its strength, the dragon carries the city into the sky. It wraps itself around the city and carries it far away, and it places chunks of land on its back like a boat. The city now floats in the sky on top of the dragon. The dragon then flies into space with the city on its back. The animals of the forest watch the dragon pass through the sky. It flies majestically over the ocean with the city on its back. The celestial dragon then roars with force, showing its power. Following Lin Potian's wish, it took the 4 largest cities. Thus, the demon race got a chance to breathe and recover, and the 3-year counter-attack led by Lin Potian failed. The war between the 2 races then enters a new chapter, and our MC is reborn as a cute and innocent baby. His mother, Shirui, watches him with affection and finds him adorable. The baby then holds her hand, and she melts with love. With a smile, she thinks that in that moment, she had only one wish. She would protect her son for his whole life, no matter what. And so, time passes at the snow-covered summer palace. Cheru walks alone in the snow on a cold, dark night. She wonders why it's snowing and feels very lonely, because all the guards and nannies went home for the new year. Suddenly, a child appears in the snow and calls out to her. It's our hero, now a little boy, running to hug his mother. She scolds him for being out in the cold and for not watching the stove. Our MC remains silent and seems sad about the scolding. Our MC then holds a pot with hot water, a smile on his face. He has a container that keeps the drink warm for his mother. Then, the boy offers the sugar water to Shiarui in the middle of the snow. She's worried about the fire at home and questions him about it. The little boy apologizes, saying he just wanted her to be happy to see him. A man explains that the boy ran home 3 times to heat the water. The footprints in the snow show all the effort he put into it. Shiarai is moved and laughs, saying he's left her speechless. She asks why he didn't wait at home, and he says it's different. With the pot in her hands, she smiles warmly at her son's gesture. He's happy she drank it all and asks about a head on the ground. The story shows a flashback of him admiring his mother in the lab. In another memory, they eat together, and he says it's the best. Our boy says he wants to marry her, and Shiori laughs at the situation. A servant calls them perverts, while the mother keeps laughing. The scene changes to an amusement park with a Ferris wheel in the background. The 2 are having a great time at the top of the ride with big smiles. But a man whips a demon, who is turning the Ferris wheel with his strength, and another demon is forced to spit water as if it were a park fountain. Ignoring all of this, mother and son happily go down a water slide. They then enter a haunted house, and the guide says the monsters are real. She explains that they bought demons to be punished for their sins. The guide even lies, saying they don't feel pain and are just acting. After that, mother and son have a blast on a roller coaster at the park, and they also go down a giant slide with smiles on their faces. After a busy day, the 2 end up taking a nap on the park grass. Later, our MC falls off the swing, and his mother rushes to help him. Shia Rai then lifts him into the air with a look full of affection and love. At night, they watch television together, sitting on the living room floor. The news reports that a demon official named Li Dazi has staged a coup, and because of this, the demon emperor and his family have become prisoners. Experts say he might go after Lin Potian's former allies. The anchor laments that the greatest power of a demon minister has fallen. The news then recalls the case of Lin Potian's family from many years ago. Our boy comments that the entire family was wiped out because of it. He finds it strange that his mother is laughing, and she says even humans thought it was excessive. That night, Shiori sleeps peacefully with the full moon in the sky, but our MC is awake and suddenly has a massive headache. The next day, he sees a plate of food with a very strange appearance. Shioroi asks what's wrong and says it's the 5-colored demon flesh. Our hero is shocked by the food and can't even touch the chopsticks he was holding. He tells his mother he has no appetite and that lately, he's been feeling very strange about everything because the boy feels like he needs to do something important, but can't remember what it is at all. On top of that, he always dreams that he's surrounded by the bodies of his clan and his beloved family. His mother, Shisharui, is surprised and asks, in a very excited way, if he also has a wife. She even questions if he likes his fiancée more than her, and the boy says it's very different. Because he feels like he would be willing to give everything for the girl he can barely remember. Just then, a memory surfaces of his fiancée, Dan Yunduo, hugging him with great affection and love. Their friends around them tease him, saying our hero is blushing bright red. The girl smiles and says he likes her, while the others comment that she's the prettiest. But the good memory turns into a nightmare, and the girl appears trapped in energy threads, bleeding. Back in the present, our boy is in shock seeing her head next to him on the table. His fiancée's head floats above the dinner table, begging him to save her from that horror. Our MC screams in terror and wakes up in the middle of the night, covered in a cold sweat in his mother's arms. Ru tells him not to scare her like that, because she only knows how to hurt people, not save them. Suddenly, a mysterious voice says that the time has finally come to awaken the ancient power. This voice explains that it's the power of the demon core he has kept in his body for a long time. Because the hero managed to absorb several power cores when he was just a fragile baby, a female entity says she is different from the other cores and that he received special treatment. She is the worldview brain and the first demonic core from Lin Potian's past life. The female entity laments that her master's family was all cruelly eliminated, but she soon gives a sinister smile and says it was about time, as she didn't like any of them. Then, the girl starts to cry with rage and complains about being born as a demon core, because she can't eat or watch cartoons and can only dream of the man she loves so much, screaming in hatred. The entity wonders why everyone can be with the hero except her. She looks at an old family photo and shatters the glass right over the fiancé, Dan Yunduo, because the thought of seeing those two together after the wedding makes her head want to explode. Soon, the entity starts to have hallucinations and tells her brain to stop thinking about these things. But she stands up and swears that everyone is gone, and that in this life, Lin Potian is all hers. The girl stands in the dark, thinking about how she's going to put her crazy plan into action now. However, she warns that our hero's human body needs to be strong to satisfy her, because the entity liked him precisely because he was so powerful in his past life. If he remains weak, she will corrode his body with demonic power until the end comes. And with a wicked look, she says that afterward, she'll just find a new host to play with. In the real world, Ri takes her son to several doctors, but no one knows what's wrong with him. One doctor says he can't help, and a month later, they go to the corner of the Black Swamp. There, a black market sells demon cores and even children of the enemy race. On top of that, vendors offer demon organs and bones as if they were normal products. So, the mother takes the boy to a medical clinic called Kuhn's to try one last time. There, a mysterious doctor looks at the boy and says he recognizes that strange symptom. The mysterious doctor reveals that in his past life, our hero was likely from the demon race. Our boy blushes in his mother's arms and wonders if past lives are real. Ru is surprised and says she heard about it from the older demon sealers, because in the continent's history, some humans have claimed to be reincarnations of others. On top of that, they even carried memories, and she thought her old master was just bragging. But since she and her son had seen doctors all over without any positive results, she remembered some old events and felt the symptoms were very similar to the reports. That's why she went to her master's hometown to try her luck with a witch doctor like him. The doctor confirms that the ancient texts do indeed speak of this very strange illness, because the residual power from his past life as a demon is rejecting his current human body. So it's not surprising that the boy has this symptom of a constant, full-body fever. The mother gets worried and asks what she can do to solve her son's problem. But the doctor says there's nothing to be done, and that the boy will pass away within a year at most. Desperate, she asks if there isn't another way, and the doctor reveals a very difficult method, because the essence of the boy's illness is the residual will of his past life as a demon. While our hero sleeps, he has a small glimpse of when he was called Lord Lin. The doctor explains that if he eats demon cores, his body's resistance will decrease. Ru gets excited because she knows that cores are the source of power for the demon race. A long time ago, humans would eat them to learn magic, but the method was later abandoned. So the villainess celebrates, because with her identity, getting cores is the easiest thing in the world. However, Ru asks what this demonification he mentioned before means. The doctor explains that her son's body and habits will become more and more like those of the enemy race, because one day he will become a full member of the demon race, and he asks if she accepts that. The woman is completely in shock at the revelation and doesn't know what to say or do in that moment. She looks at the specimens in the lab while the information weighs on her mind like a rock. With a pale face and breaking out in a cold sweat, Shia Rui grits her teeth in pure anguish and total despair. Our boy thinks to himself that now he's definitely done for, and there's no hope for him, because he knows his mother would never accept a medical treatment plan like that for him. After all, her family and friends were all eliminated by the demon race in the cruel past. On top of that, she became mentally unstable because of it and has 10,000 reasons to abandon him. Currently, demons are treated as third-class citizens and wander through human territory. They have almost no rights and are seen merely as livestock for humans to use as they please. No human would spend their fortune to buy cores and save the life of a simple pet. And since his mother is young and beautiful, she could simply give birth to another child and forget him. The doctor notices her hesitation and suggests she just pretend he never said anything at all, because as an important figure, all of humanity will boycott her if her son becomes a demon. Besides, she used up all her power in the fight against Lin Potian and still hasn't properly recovered. Without the support of the human government, it would be very difficult for her to survive alone in the world. The doctor apologizes for presenting such a messy plan and said, as it was his mistake. But Xiao Roy interrupts him and says this is great, because it means her son can still be saved. Gritting her teeth, Xia Rui says this is great, because it means her son can be saved. Then she adds that she doesn't care about the demon race, and that she will take care of her little hero. Even if he's just a blade of grass on the side of the road, she promises she will raise him. Our boy cries with emotion upon hearing his mother's words and feels her tight embrace. The witch doctor hurries to write the prescription while the news spreads like wildfire. Soon, the newspapers publish that the heroine Shiroi's son is actually a member of the demons. On top of that, the people do not accept the situation, and the demon Sealing King makes an official announcement. He orders that all of the young woman's titles and honors be stripped, and anyone who helps her will be considered a spy. In his diary, our hero writes that high-quality cores are rare and his illness won't wait. So, his mother was banished from everything and started selling the family's assets to survive. The family situation went from bad to worse, and Shisha Rui was buried in debt. 2 years passed, and the boy's illness improved a little, but they became very poor. With torn clothes and freezing, the two walked through the snow with nowhere to go now, because their old home was lost, and now they wander alone through the harsh winter. Hand in hand with his mother, our MC struggles to walk through the deep, icy snow. Feeling very cold, he asks if she can no longer conjure flames to warm them up. Xia Roy remains silent, and the boy realizes his question was a very big mistake. As soon as he asked that, our hero instantly regretted having spoken, because poison-type magical treasures work by using the user's future combat power, and his mother has already spent everything she had to defeat Lin Potian and to get the cores. Now his mother is an ordinary person, and our boy knows she can't conjure flames anymore. That's why he feels guilty for everything and walks hand in hand with her in the heavy snow. Looking at a warm house, he thinks that the creator of the world must really hate his own creation, for he created disasters and diseases, while a man throws out his mother, who was begging for help. Our MC watches from a distance as his mother is rejected, shivering from the cold in the winter. He also huddles up because the intense cold freezes him to the bone, and he can't take it anymore. Suddenly, Xia Rui shouts her son's name with a crazy smile plastered on her face. Then she opens her arms and yells, "Robot Fusion," saying that the creator also loves children. Right after, the young woman hugs her son tightly to try and warm his body with hers. With a smile, she asks if he's warm now, and if the cold has vanished all at once. On top of that, she says she's the strongest demon sealer of all, and that she can do anything. The boy cries, worried about his mother, but he believes she is omnipotent, just like the creator. That night, Xia re-wakes up little Atian with a surprise she brought for him. She shows him a warm, sweet potato that she managed to get for their dinner. With a shout of joy, the woman says he must be starving and offers him the food. She tells him that she visited several houses, and only one family gave her the potato, after a lot of begging. Our hero, who hasn't eaten in days, hears his mother telling him to eat, but he asks about her. Rai replies that she has and breaks the potato in two to share with her beloved son. She gives him the larger piece and says she wouldn't let herself go hungry because she needs to take care of him. Finally, the boy eats the hot, fragrant potato while his mother watches him with great affection. Suddenly, a figure approaches their shelter, his legs all injured and bandaged. It was a young demon who says hello and mentions he smelled good food nearby. He then bows and begs the woman to share a little of her food with him. Roy stares at the boy and realizes he's part of the hated demon race. Even so, she replies that, of course, she can share some of her food with the young man. But with a terrifying look, she says he needs to hand over his demon core in exchange. The demon boy laughs and thinks it's a joke, because he's the one who wishes he had a core right now. Because, if he had one, he could trade it on the black market for a lot of food for his family. That way, his sick sister wouldn't have to go hungry anymore, and Roy is left speechless. She asks why he doesn't open his eyes, and the boy says he's a very pitiful monster. Hearing this, the boy realizes she's human and asks not to be beaten for getting clothes. The woman is shocked that someone would hit him, and the boy confirms that humans hate them. Since he can't see, he doesn't know if he's asking a demon or a human, and that decides his fate. Roy reflects on the demon race and everything she went through because of them before. Meanwhile, our hero thinks that surviving in this world is a very difficult task. The demon boy senses an aura and asks if they happen to be of his race too. The mother replies that she is human, but that her baby is now part of the demon race. Her expression changes, filled with a deep sadness over the whole situation. Soon, tears begin to stream down her face as she thinks about what to do. Finally, she breaks the sweet potato again to share with the hungry little boy in the snow. Roy offers a piece of the sweet potato to the boy and tells him to take it without fear. The young man thanks her profusely and says that now he and his sister can live until tomorrow. He says goodbye and wishes her peace, because he believes that good people are rewarded. The woman remembers her teacher saying the same thing and ponders those words. She looks up at the starry, snowy sky as a cruel doubt arises in her mind. Alone in her makeshift shelter, Rue wonders if she is truly a good person. In another scene, our hero starts coughing up blood, and his mother goes into a total panic. She yells at a merchant, not understanding how the money she saved isn't enough. Because this time, she needs a high-level demon core to save her son's life. But the merchant says he's the one who has the final say, and that she should have some money. The man mocks her for not wanting to pay double the price for the well, being of her own son. Rui says she just needs 3 more cores to cure him once, and for all right there. So she gets on her knees and begs him to let her pay the debt later, promising she'll pay it all back. In the name of the humanity she once saved, the woman cries and pleads for a little compassion. The merchant just watches from afar as the woman humiliates herself at the door of his fancy shop. To this day, our hero doesn't know what his mother did to convince that man to help her. But since that night, the boy's body began to improve in a very significant way. After some time, the two are happily strolling through a forest in better, cleaner clothes. They even buy the 5 flowered demon flesh that our MC used to love so much. And at the amusement park, Rui shows her son that the swing set is now free. At the amusement park, a little boy cries on the ground while our hero pushes his mother on the swing. Suddenly, Rui loses her balance and falls face first into the sand while the boy continues to cry. Because the family situation has improved, and the mother can now get some jobs in the Black Swamp. She even plans to rent a cheap lab soon to refine her son's medicine. However, our MC feels very guilty that she sold her old laboratory. That's why he hugs his mother and cries a lot while she asks why he's so sad. Later, Rui opens a box and shows a purple demon core that shines very brightly. Our boy is mesmerized by the power coming from that item and can't look away. With a very strange smile on her face, his mother watches her son's reaction closely. Then she asks if that could be the demon core of the former hero named Lin Potian. Our boy wonders if that's really the demon core of the great hero, Lin Potian. Rui confirms it, saying the guy met his end at her hands, so she knows his power all too well. His cores scattered, and one just happened to land nearby, so she kept it on the down low. She explains that the hero was incredibly strong, and if her son takes the core, his illness could be cured. With a calm look, the woman tells our main character to just grab the item and use it already. But our guy stays quiet for a moment, thinking about what he's going to do with all that power. Then, he reaches out his hand to take the core, which is glowing with a seriously sinister purple energy. Suddenly, breaking news on the TV interrupts the mood and startles our hero. The anchor reports that the last demon city has finally been reclaimed by the humans. She explains that the place is located on the highest peak of the great celestial dragon continent. And now, with their new airships, humans can finally reach the dragon's head. With a bizarre smile, the woman celebrates the victory in the war with her fellow countrymen. Because the chance to invade the demons' last refuge has finally arrived for everyone. Next thing you know, a blast of red energy fills the screen, showing the battle raging on. Human soldiers are attacking the demons with their lances, and a whole lot of violence, and one warrior lands a powerful energy punch right in the chest of one of his opponents. Another soldier hops on a giant missile, screaming for everyone to advance at full throttle. Just like that, a fleet of giant flying ships gets ready for the final assault on the city. One of the soldiers climbs a ladder to get into position and begin the invasion of the great dragon. Finally, the creature's eyes fill with fury as it watches the ships closing in for the fight. Several explosions rock the demon city as the humans continue their merciless attack. Furious, Dooley, the son of the highest regent, complains that years have gone by and nothing has changed. Because even with a giant territory, the demon race hasn't managed to get back on its feet. He yells that no one with even half of Lin Potian's strength has shown up to save their people. An advisor warns that the humans have breached the outer wall and are heading for the city center. Meanwhile, in the meeting room, the council argues that their interests cannot be compromised. One of the pig-faced regents gets furious, shouting that the situation is completely unacceptable. Right after, another leader asks who the traitor was that sold out Lin Potian's information to the enemy. He warns that he knows the character of everyone there, and that only the inner circle knew the location. The fourth regent, who's got the face of a tiger, says that nobody expected the humans to be so cruel. He recalls that the former hero mentioned having relatives with talents similar to his own power. On top of that, the seventh regent accuses the humans of wiping out the entire family just to be sure. Then the accusations start flying, and the second regent is blamed for getting a promotion after the hero's fall. Tired of the bickering, the tiger regent shouts that the old emperor didn't put Lin Potian in power for nothing. The third regent, a rooster-faced fellow, stands up and asks about the status of the demon cores. He suggests that the warrior elite should go hunt down all the cores scattered across the world. However, the sixth regent, with a lion's face, thinks it's a terrible idea and says he doesn't get politics because the humans know all about Lin Potian's strength and wouldn't just leave the cores lying around for no reason. Besides, the cores were taken by the 12 stars of disaster, and getting them back is pretty much impossible. Finally, the young empress, sitting on her ice throne, asks if they have any solution at all. One of the regents complains that there's nothing to be done, and that the princess's father wasted his power. So, the young empress says she found an old friend who has a plan to save them. But the tiger regent yells at her, warning that the royal family has no chance of turning the tables anymore. He accuses the girl of trying to sneak her own people onto the council during a crisis. Right away, the other leaders say only Lin Potian can handle this, and that she should be punished. With a smile, the empress reveals that the person she mentioned is connected to the old hero. The rooster and lion regents wonder if some distant relative of the guy survived the massacre. Others question if it's his adopted son, but then remember he's not allowed to meet with royalty. Suddenly, a bright beam of light fills the meeting room, getting everyone's attention. The council members are stunned, staring at the door with looks of surprise and fear, because a female silhouette enters the room, leaving all the leaders frozen in shock. One of the regent's jaws drops as he remembers seeing that woman somewhere before. The mysterious woman walks towards the council, while the empress watches from a distance. In a flashback, we see our hero and his fiancée wishing the nobles a happy new year. Then it dawns on the council that's Dan Yun Duo, Lin Potian's fiancée, who everyone thought was gone for good. The lion regent screams in desperation, asking if this is the solution the empress promised. To make things worse, one of the leaders makes a tasteless joke about her relationship with the old hero, but Dan Yundo shoots back with a bold question, leaving the old man completely speechless. The pig regent says she's the #1 woman and could be used as the ultimate war trophy. All of a sudden, the council table is hit by several energy beams and explodes violently. The regents team up to attack Dan Yunduo, trying to hand her over to the humans as a gift, but the woman remains silent, just observing the greed of the leaders who rule her people. With a swift move, she uses a thread of red energy to get ready for combat. Then, the woman launches her attack with a determined look, showing she's not backing down. The energy thread shoots out of the palace, cutting through the air towards the wall protecting the city. It spreads across the entire courtyard, proving that the hero's fiancée is extremely powerful. The attack hits the watchtower, blowing everything to bits with surprising force. Right after that, several red energy threads slice through the wall and destroy the gate. The human soldiers, advancing with their jet boots, are caught completely off guard by the attack. The explosion sweeps across the battlefield, showing that the tide of the battle was finally starting to turn. After clearing the area, Dan Yunduo retracts her thread and asks if they can talk now. The tiger and pig regents are terrified, hiding behind each other in absolute horror. With a serious look, the woman reveals that the old hero left one of his demon cores with her. The leaders are floored by the news and can't believe what they just heard from her. The young empress smiles, saying she expected nothing less from her guest. In a flashback, the people comment that Lin Potian turned down even the princess for his fiancée. The little empress looks ahead with an expression of admiration and a hint of jealousy, because on that day, she who had always wanted to be by the hero's side had to swallow her pride, and Dan Yunduo, the one she envied so much, kneels before her to pay her respects. Finally, the hero's fiancée shows up with a plan to save everyone and asks for Her Majesty's help. The morning after the hero's fall, the townspeople went to the site to offer help. One of the residents shouts that he found Dan Yunduo alive and asks for help to get her out quickly. Another comments that her family's survival rate in that massacre was surprisingly high. A medic says that one of Lin Potian's cores landed nearby and might have protected them all. The woman clutches the last gift she received from her beloved, crying with immense pain and longing. With her face bruised and bandaged, Dan Yunduo refuses to believe he's really gone. Since his body was never found, she became one of the few who still held on to hope. Alone in the rebel, the young woman cries, calling out for her beloved with a completely broken heart. She tells her parents that a great ancient demon also used this technique to escape. So, the woman begs them to let her go after the cores and try to save him. Screaming, she says she is his wife and she needs to find his body, no matter what, right now. The Empress recounts that she didn't see Dan Yunduo for 4 years after that farewell, because the woman traveled through human territory to gather every piece of information she could. On top of that, the hero's cores followed his wishes, ending up in his most cherished places. The young Empress watches from afar, knowing that the stronger the core, the harder it is to refine, because even the greatest demon master would need a ton of effort to control that power. And when Dan Yunduo left, she was just an ordinary citizen with 0 combat strength. Now, the woman has returned, far stronger and more powerful than anyone could have ever imagined. The little Empress wonders what the woman went through all those years to change so drastically. Finally, Dan Yunduo reaffirms that the hero left one of his cores with her for protection. The pig regent is completely stunned, yelling in surprise at Dan Yunduo's revelation. Right after, 2 leaders invite the woman to come in and ask someone to bring a special document. In the middle of the city, the people shout and point to the sky as the council meeting is being broadcast. The council members take their seats, preparing to hear the woman's plan. The crowd doesn't understand why they're holding a meeting at such a critical moment. One of the regents holds a magic mirror that shows the entire meeting room for the public to see. Dan Yunduo explains that her identity can't be revealed, which is why she's wearing a hat. She also says the situation is urgent and her proposal needs to be carried out immediately. One of the leaders asks what her plan is to save the demon race from annihilation. The woman replies that the method is simple. In 15 minutes, they will drop the floating city. The impact will crush the human capital, and the demonic power will shatter the tectonic plates. This way, the entire demon race will perish, and so will over 80% of the humans. The people watching the broadcast are shocked, calling the woman crazy for coming up with such a plan. They also complain that the meeting is being broadcast at such a sensitive time. In the council, the leaders start arguing, and chaos breaks out in the meeting room. One of the regents even lights up a cigarette in the middle of the fight to try and calm down. The lion regent and his companion argue, trading accusations about the current situation. Suddenly, the rooster-faced leader slams his fist on the table, shouting that the idea is complete nonsense. He turns to Dan Yundo and starts cussing her out, but is interrupted by one of his colleagues. With a smirk on his face, Leader Dooley says that the woman's proposal is actually pretty darn good. Leader Dooley realizes the woman's plan is just a threat to force the humans to retreat. Dan Yundo compliments the regent's intelligence, saying they have good political sense. In the crowd, the people start talking about the possibility of a peace treaty with their enemies. But Dooley explains that they tried to communicate with the celestial dragon for many years. However, the giant creature never paid them any mind and doesn't follow any orders. The woman says that's exactly why she's here, and that the dragon is the key to everything now. Because the creature is the personification of the hero's core and only obeys his demonic power. Even though she has one of the cores, she can only use 30% of its full power. The people watching the broadcast are shocked by this revelation, calling the woman a genius. She explains that the dragon won't be impressed by her power alone, and that she needs the council's help. That's why she wants the royal authority to force the warriors and commoners to lend her their strength. This way, she will gather the power of the entire race and channel it into herself to control the dragon. With their combined strength, she can finally give orders to the creature and change the game. And after the attack, no human government will just accept the outcome of mass destruction. So, Dan Yunduo says they just need to be brave and leave the rest of the plan to her. But the crowd complains that this is just a gamble and the humans might seek revenge. The woman agrees it's a gamble, but claims it has a 70% chance of success. Then she gives the people two options: choose her gamble or the certainty of defeat. The crowd falls silent, thinking about what they're going to do next in this tough spot. Suddenly, one of the demons raises his fist and shouts that they must fight the humans. The people shout that it doesn't matter if there's no peace treaty, because they're going to get wiped out anyway. Besides, they're tired of being pushed around by humans and want to fight to the very end. The defeated soldiers get back on their feet and say they'll listen to the woman in red. And just like that, the entire demon race unites, shouting that they will fight the humans with everything they've got. Meanwhile, in the human capital, the city goes about its normal routine, unaware of the danger. One of the council members stands up and yells that they must fight, but Dan Yunduo shuts him down. Leader Dooley finds the plan interesting, saying it's been a while since he's seen something so bold. So he asks the Speaker of the House to start the vote to decide their future. The Speaker adjusts his glasses and begins counting the votes for the woman's current plan. He asks anyone who is against it to raise their hand, and Leader Dooley is the first to do so. The people watching the broadcast are on edge, anxiously waiting for the result of the vote. The Speaker counts the votes and announces the result 690, 9-1. With the majority of votes against Dan Yunduo's plan, her proposal is completely rejected. The woman is in shock, unable to understand how her idea was shot down so easily. The Speaker repeats the result, confirming that the current bill will not be passed by the council. The crowd is furious, not understanding why. They don't want to bet on a chance for victory. With a serious look, Dan Yunduo says they have no reason to refuse her proposal. Leader Dooley calls her a genius for coming up with such a great plan in a situation like this. But he reveals that the fate of the demon race has nothing to do with the council members, because the nobles can just pay taxes to the humans and get immunity for their families. He then informs the poor crowd that to the humans, they aren't even worth as much as fertilizer, because their financial situation binds them forever to the demon race, leaving them no choice. And because they have no other option, the common people always think about protecting and fighting for their own kind. Leader Dooley finishes by saying that the poor love their nation, while the rich choose theirs. Dan Yunduo questions why the elite would risk a 30% chance of getting wiped out. The council members agree that the risk is way too high and not worth it for them. With a cigarette in his mouth, Dooley states that their mortality rate will always be 0%. He criticizes the woman for thinking she can change the world with a little bit of power and strategy. The other leaders complain that they're the ones paying the taxes to fund the wars. With a serious look, Dan Yunduo realizes that strategy and passion alone won't get her anywhere. The leader calls her an idiot, just like her Kai, and says his demise was already sealed, because from the moment the hero got strong and decided to restore the glory of the demons, his end was written in the stars. He also tells her not to hate them, because the entire noble class of their race wanted him gone, and even if they hadn't acted, the other council members would have taken care of him. Feeling a bit of pity for the woman, the leader advises her to think more carefully before presenting a plan there, because in some ways, that meeting room can be more dangerous than the human army. Dan Yunduo remains silent as the smoke from Dooley's cigarette rises in the tense air. He asks if she has another plan, then immediately says it's best to just accept reality. Then the leader stands up and suggests that everyone get their finances in order for what's coming. Finally, he adjourns the meeting, and the broadcast cuts off, leaving the people in total despair. The people shout that the hero was betrayed by his own leaders, and now they're all doomed. Suddenly, an explosion hits, striking the wall that protects the demon city head-on. The impact blows a giant hole in the wall, and dust billows high into the dark night. The residents scream in terror, telling everyone to run because the humans are invading. Right after, an army of soldiers in white and blue armor charges through the city. The human warriors attack the civilians with their energy weapons, showing zero mercy. The massacre begins, and the demons are taken down one by one with no chance to defend themselves. The city is plunged into chaos, and the residents scream for help as they try to survive the assault. With a serious look, Dan Yunduo tells everyone to hold on a minute, because she's not finished yet. She says the meeting isn't over, and that she has a new plan to present to the council. With a confident smile, the woman asks if the leaders would like to hear her new proposal. The council members are surprised, wondering if she really has another plan up her sleeve. One of the leaders tells her to spit it out, hoping it's not something impossible to pass. Dan Yunduo says she didn't want it to come to this either, but now it's time to get radical. Then she presents her first condition, a full pardon for all her war crimes. The regents scoff at her, saying that everyone who gets power wants to use it for personal gain. The second condition is that the entire demon race must cooperate with the plan to attack the humans. Leader Dooley is confused and asks what her goal is with all these demands. Finally, the third condition, she will take half of the assets from each council member for the war effort. One of the leaders gets ticked off, shouts that he's had enough of this woman, and launches an attack. The Tiger Regent yells that the woman is wasting their time and tells her to go to heck. Suddenly, several red energy threads slice through the air, hitting every member of the council. With a serious look, Dan Yunduo asks anyone who opposes her plan to raise their hand now. She waits for a response as the leaders fall one by one, with no chance to react to the attack. A moment later, the woman announces that since no one objected, the proposal has been approved by all. She orders the Speaker of the House to announce the result and begin the operation immediately. With a score of 0 to 700, the woman confirms that the new plan was accepted unanimously. Her eyes glow with green energy as she takes complete control of the situation. All the council members have been eliminated, and the meeting room is covered in red. Leader Dooley drags himself across the floor, unable to believe she had the guts to do that. Dan Yunduo compliments his power, surprised that he managed to survive her attack. She reminds him that he himself said this room was more dangerous than the enemy army. With a smirk, the woman says she also agrees with the statement he made before the fight, because the humans wouldn't take him out, but she wouldn't show the same mercy as his opponents. With a look of pure hatred, the woman warns that she's going to finish him off, right here and now. Dooley screams in pain as she squeezes tighter, aiming to end it quickly. He cusses her out, saying he's the #1 noble, and she can't do this to him. He also warns that if she takes him out, the entire noble class will turn against her in the war, because the laws and the media will hunt her down, and even the people will hate her for this betrayal. But Dan Yunduo doesn't care, and the leader screams in agony as she tightens her grip on his neck. Leader Dooley gets desperate and begs the woman to spare his life for the hero's sake. He even offers to make her his 6th concubine, saying he doesn't mind that she's a widow. But the man corrects himself, calling her a noble princess, and pleading not to be taken out. With a cold stare, Dan Yunduo says her beloved is not gone, and he can try again in the next life. She tells him to never call her a widow again, and grips his head with immense force. Suddenly, a loud impact sound echoes through the room, and the leader's head explodes into pieces. Alone in the hall, the woman says out loud that she knows her beloved is still alive somewhere, and with her eyes glowing, she promises that she will deliver the entire demon race to him. Then, baring sharp teeth, the woman screams and summons the little celestial dragon with all her might. A moment later, a giant dragon with green flames appears in the sky, roaring for all to hear. In the year 3768, a new law was added to the council. The demons threatened the humans with mutual destruction to force a peace agreement, but the human race only agreed to talk when the dragon got close to their capital, and so the two races finally achieved a brief period of peace after so much war. In a flashback, our boy appears on the floor, shaking with a fever and looking very sick. His mother, Xiarui, holds him, panicking as she sees her son is burning up. In the year 3767, a man says he was a demon in a past life. Years later, in March of 3771, his mother is still lovingly caring for him. In December of 3774, the boy seems to be draining the life out of his mother. Back in the present, our main character prepares to take the purple demon core. In the year 3775, our boy stares intently at the purple core. His mother, Xiarui, gives him a very strange and mysterious smile. The main character asks if that's really the hero's core, and she nods in confirmation. Furthermore, the woman reveals that Lin Potian met his end at her hands, and that she knew him well, because his cores scattered, and one landed nearby, so she kept it a secret. She says it was a top-tier item, and that it would be a waste to just use it for research. Xiarui explains she didn't give him the core sooner, because its power was too much for his body to handle. But now that he's consumed many cores, our hero can finally withstand the energy, and with the item's power, the illness that has tormented him for years will finally be cured. She also tells him that this particular core was located in the hero's brain and might contain his memories. That way, he might find clues about the extermination case from his past life as a demon. And with any luck, our main character might even remember who his enemies were. With a calm look, the woman tells our boy to grab the item and use it already. But the young man stays silent for a moment, thinking about what he's going to do with that power. Then, he reaches out his hand to take the core, which is glowing with a seriously sinister purple energy. Suddenly, breaking news on the TV interrupts the mood and startles our hero. The anchor reports that the last demon city has surrendered to them once again, and she celebrates that the chance to invade the enemy's final refuge has finally arrived. Finding the news too loud, Xiarui grabs the remote to turn off the TV. Finally, the room goes silent again, and our boy's decision is still hanging in the air. Xiarui tells our boy to eat the core to finally get rid of his illness. So, without a second thought, our main character pops the item into his mouth and swallows it. Immediately after, he feels the energy of the purple core spreading through his chest. His mother asks if he's feeling better and if he's remembered anything yet. Suddenly, our hero's eyes go wide, and he freezes in a state of shock. The woman is also startled by her son's unexpected reaction after eating the item. With his hand on his head, the boy seems to be in intense pain and looks dazed. But soon after, he says nothing happened and that he doesn't remember anything new. Our hero even jokes that the fever from his childhood might have fried his brain. His mother theorizes that the hero might have stored his memories in a different demon core. The boy complains that they could have sold the item to avoid going through so much hardship. She hands him a drink and says she has things to do and needs to leave. She also tells him to get some good rest because the core consumes a lot of energy. The door closes, and our main character is left alone in the dark room, thinking about life. After a while, he gets up and starts writing in a journal about what happened. And as he sips his drink, he remembers everything his mother did for him in the past. Suddenly, a memory of him and his mother playing on the grass flashes in his mind. Right after, he sees an image of a man being tortured with green vines. Then he remembers when he was a child drawing while his mother worked. Finally, several memories from his past life as a demon flood his mind all at once. Suddenly, a whirlwind of memories invades our hero's mind all at once. He then remembers the exact moment of his demise at the hands of a pregnant Xia Rui. His body trembling with rage, our main character clenches the glass, shattering it into pieces. Finally, he remembers everything and screams the name of the woman who betrayed him, Xia Rui. Back in his room, our guy spits up some blood as he writes in his journal. The coughing fit is so bad, he can barely stay upright in his chair. He ends up smearing blood all over the notebook, his hands shaking uncontrollably. Crumpled on the floor, he read as in pain, remembering everything that's happened. Turns out, the demonic core is now rejecting his body even more forcefully. The pain is so intense that our hero ends up passing out right there on the floor. A moment later, his mother, Xia Rui, comes in and calls for Tian, freaking out when she sees the scene. She doesn't get how his illness came back and wonders what went wrong. Her eyes are then drawn to the blood-stained journal on the desk. The woman slowly approaches the notebook with a curious look. Carefully, Xia Rui picks up the journal her son was writing in, and with a fearful expression, she opens the notebook to see what's inside. One page says that he'd grown up, and his mother told him the treatment was almost over, but the next page is completely torn and stained with blood. A day later, we see the two of them sleeping side by side in the same bed. Our hero is actually awake, watching his mother with a cold stare. He confirms she's not moving at all, so he figures she must be fast asleep. The kid thinks to himself that his recent injuries have already almost completely healed. Besides, he reflects that as long as he doesn't get too emotional, everything should be fine. Then, holding a rope, he reveals he can't wait any longer to take her out. He knows he can't beat her head on, so he's banking on a sneak attack. With his eyes glowing with hatred, he lunges with the rope, screaming for her to meet her end. But as he pulls the rope tight, he feels a strange resistance and gets super confused. He doesn't understand what's happening, and his eyes widen in shock. Then, the kid spots a protective amulet glowing on his mother's chest. He remembers that this kind of item can nullify an external force, even if the wearer is unconscious. And with the ongoing tension between humans and demons, it makes sense she'd have protection. Realizing his plan is a bust, he decides to look for another opportunity. Our hero then slips back into bed, acting as if nothing ever happened. He closes his eyes, pretending to be asleep while his mind races, cooking up a new plan. The boy stays silent for a moment, thinking about his next steps. However, Xia Rui was awake the entire time and is now crying silently in bed. Meanwhile, the papers are announcing that a new war is about to break out. On the streets, a newsboy hawks papers, yelling about the approaching conflict. But people don't seem to care, just having a good time in a bustling restaurant. Two buddies are even playfully arguing over who hogged all the demon meat. Someone then pours a spicy red sauce into the pot to season the meat. One of them digs in with so much gusto that his friend jokes he must be part demon himself. The yin and yang hot pot keeps bubbling, full of delicious food. Observing the scene, our protagonist says he's ready for whatever comes next. He then claims the white broth is his, just like always, but Xia Rui says the spicy red broth is for our hero, Tian. She also remarks that he's not like other people and has always loved spicy food. A moment later, the owner of the place shows up, recognizes them, and mentions a special promotion. So, the woman takes the opportunity to mention they might be moving to another province. The owner wonders why they just up and leave, asking if it's because of the boy's school. Our protagonist says there are a lot of reasons, but one is especially important, because, his mother explains, their province might go to war with the demons. The lady is confused and brings up the peace treaty that was signed years ago, but the province's leader is Kunming, who wants to expand his army for war, and thanks to a new spiritual war, their power has suddenly grown a lot. Because of this, Xia Rui advises the owner to get out of the city as soon as possible. The lady, however, doesn't want to move, saying these war rumors are nothing new. She says she can't just pack up and leave every time, and the woman replies that the choice is hers. Our hero then takes an interest in the restaurant's membership card, and Xia Rui remembers the first time they went there, for her son's birthday. Back then, the owner was the only one who didn't complain about their dirty, torn clothes, and the portions of food on their table were always bigger than everyone else's. So, She says her memory is fuzzy, and the card will help her not to forget the owner. The woman even jokes that she'll report her if she doesn't accept the money, and the owner gives in. The restaurant owner gets back to work, waving them off with a smile. Our hero thinks that Shia-Ru was right about the war. Her instincts are razor sharp. He then wonders if he should praise the woman for being worthy of having bested him. The kid realizes he needs to speed up his plans, because the demons won't protect themselves. But before he returns to his old home, he has one very clear goal. With a look full of hatred, he swears to himself that he has to deal with her first. Suddenly changing his tone, he calls out to his mother and says he's old enough now. Because of that, he asks her to teach him how to use the magical artifacts that exist. And with a determined look, he also wants to learn how to break those artifacts. The woman is silent for a second, just holding her chopsticks. She watches him for a moment, processing her son's unexpected request. Then, with a strange smile on her face, she finally agrees to his request. They then continue their meal in a tense and uncomfortable silence. Shia-Rai says she'll start teaching him the very next day, her expression turning sinister. The scene changes to show the mascot of the province of Light giving a welcoming wave. Shortly after, a man holds a magic mirror that's glowing intensely, and a chain of blue energy is also shown, being held tightly. The image reveals a man with a golden halo and a serious look on his face. He's in the Prism Palace, the administrative center of the province of Light. This is Kun-Ming, and he asks about the current situation while holding a hostage. One of his subordinates then reports that the province has discovered an immortal ore. He also reminds him that the woman in red saved the demon race in the past. But General Vermilion Jiro explains that her prestige faded away with the peace. He adds that the demons have gotten complacent and aren't expecting another war. Kun-Ming hears that the number of demon enlistments has dropped significantly, and because of this, their combat power is the weakest it's been in the last 5 years. So, General White Tiger suggests waiting a few more years before attacking. He thinks it's better to hold off until the demon race becomes even weaker. But Kun-Ming's son, named Kun-Erhao, questions his uncle's line of thinking. He explains that humans have also grown complacent with the current state of affairs, and that the shadow of near annihilation is starting to fade from humanity's memory. The proof is that the desire to wipe out the demons has fallen from 99% to 78%. Kun-Erhao warns that their faction alone isn't enough to start a war. He suggests they gather the power of all the human provinces, just like they did before, and at the very least, they need to consolidate all the power within their own province. Kun-Ming complains that his countrymen are being lulled into a stupor by the demons, and as long as they aren't eliminated, there will always be the risk of another Lin Potian. That's why he believes humans need a fire lit under them to reawaken their hatred. With a determined look, he declares that he will be the one to light that flame, and to do that, he orders his son to handle the military preparations while he unites humanity. The demon girl panics as she's being used as some kind of human chair, and Kun-Ming even asks with a sneer if his seat is soft enough. She screams in desperation, begging him to stop, and says that yes, he's very comfortable. Then, he uses a light attack and finishes the girl off in one go. Right after, his son Kun-Erhao appears and refers to him as Queen Mother. His subordinates are completely floored by the bizarre scene. Kun-Ming just observes the result of his cruel act without a hint of remorse. The scene shifts to a spirit tablet in honor of Kun Babao. It turns out, this tablet is for his beloved eldest son. He recounts how 5 years ago, his son was taken by demon slavers. Because of this, his hatred for the demon race goes far beyond normal. His personal vendetta for the loss of his son is what truly drives him. Vermilion Jiro complains that the human emperor did nothing about the incident, and with a heart full of pain, Kun-Ming cries out for his good son. Ever since that day, he names a demon girl queen every single day just to eliminate her. It's a twisted way of honoring his son and venting all his rage. And counting to days, that makes exactly 1,800 queens. But for Kun-Ming, that's still not even close to being enough. A month later, we see the great celestial dragon flying across the night sky, because there's still the entire celestial dragon continent left to be conquered. Back at the restaurant, our hero asks his mother to teach him how to use artifacts, and with a serious look, He also says he wants to learn the method for breaking them. Surprisingly, the woman just says, "All right," and accepts his request. She then tells him she'll start teaching him the next day in the morning. So, the next day, the training begins, and the young man unleashes a power. From inside a box, a purple smoke begins to slowly seep out. It seems that because he inherited her genes, he's a very quick learner. The power then drifts towards a hamster that was nearby in a cage. The little critter just passes out on the spot as the purple energy hits it. Our guy is surprised and celebrates that it worked perfectly this time. Right after, with a simple touch, he undoes the spell that was on the box. The hamster then wakes up, startled and totally clueless about what just happened. And just like that, he quickly mastered the methods for both controlling and breaking artifacts. Later, he uses what he's learned on his mother while she's sleeping in bed. Her body protection curse weakens slightly at his touch. Luckily for him, defense runes aren't her specialty, and he just needs some time. And when that day comes, he swears it'll be game over for her, and his revenge will be complete. Lying in bed, the girl was wide awake while the boys slept peacefully. Starting that night, the woman grew quiet, and her experiments in the lab started to go wrong all the time. Sometimes, while tidying up things around the house, she would suddenly stop and zone out, staring into space. The young woman gently held a pair of blue baby shoes, hinting that they reminded her of something very sad and personal. Because of this, the young woman started going out to hunt for magic cores more often, spending long periods away from home. Watching her leave, the boy wondered why he hadn't noticed these strange behaviors before. So, he focused his magic, using his fingers to try and break a small, glowing shield on the table. Even though he was sweating a lot, he celebrated because he could now easily shatter most of this protective magic. But he soon realized this was just a fake barrier, and he would need a powerful external force to break the real one. The boy knew that using his ancient demonic energy, he could easily strike the woman while she slept. However, he understood that highly experienced human warriors are extremely sensitive to any demonic power. Because of that, the dark energy would wake her up instantly, so he would need to attack using normal human strength. With that, the young man came to the conclusion that he urgently needed to find some kind of powerful magical artifact. The pink-haired girl heard the boy asking for his own magical item and was completely surprised by his wish. The kid then tried to find out if there was a safe source to get one, since there were many fakes in the market. The woman scratched her head, laughing, and explained that the attunement of an artifact can't be transferred from one person to another. She also warned that a complex case of toxins would be incredibly difficult for a beginner to master right away. Realizing her little friend was finally getting his own item, the young woman became incredibly excited and giddy. The boy didn't want to ask for her help, but the woman was still the only trustworthy master he knew in that region. So, at night they walked to the market street together and visited the most famous magic fair in the area. The boy crossed his arms, saying he didn't need her to come to the shopping area. She just had to show him the way. Smiling brightly, she explained that her own incredible gear was also hand-picked with her family. With a sour look, he grumbled, finding it absurd that he had to be brought by his own target to choose his weapon. They soon arrived at the entrance of a chick shop, filled with purple trees and beautiful signs advertising luxurious and useful magic items. As they opened the front door, they found a vast hall with exotic decorations, and the young woman immediately yelled out, looking for the owner. Then, they heard a sweet, old voice wondering about the new customers who had suddenly appeared in the area. Exploring the brightly lit, long space, the visitors were startled to find large, exotic beings relaxing at a table. Among these fierce monsters, a beautiful, sassy blonde girl with a lollipop in her mouth stood out, acting like she had a lot of experience. With that, the bold girl taunted them, warning with all her confidence that delaying too long would lead to little naps on the premises. However, hearing the sound of footsteps, she turned her beautiful face in confusion, peering through the gaps in the dark plants. In a huge surprise, the mentor burst with emotion, shouting her partner's funny nickname as she ran excitedly up the stairs. Completely floored and shaken, the little blonde even stumbled, losing her balance and accidentally knocking over several valuable items. The companions then took the chance to catch up after so long, sharing a loud, tearful moment with some very tight hugs. After the emotional reunion, the The thoughtful blonde with beautiful eyes focused and smiled, looking with curious admiration at the cute being nearby. Fascinated, she knelt down, her big yellow eyes widening in wonder, expressing adorable enchantment at such a rare sight. Confident in her old partner's skills, the woman excused herself and went for a stroll, planning to enjoy the streets. Now alone, the beautiful companion spoke, mentioning the exact cute, nostalgic feelings hidden in his perfect, pouting little eyes. Treating him with great familiarity, the new blonde girl smiled, taking the boy's soft white hands to prove her immense skill. Eagerly, the seller focused on her service, opening a beautiful little box to reveal the most brilliant, rare mineral bracelet on a cushion. Placing the item with pure care on the young arm, she guaranteed and confirmed the explosive, grand mystical shooting power of this jewel. Excitedly, the seller calmly suggested that the young man try shooting that enormous spiritual fire right in her direction. Challenged, the boy clenched his fist, concentrating a lot of hot, spinning energy and preparing a beautiful flaming attack. He quickly unleashed the blast, which hit a spot near the blonde girl, causing only a small, harmless fire. Shocked by the weak result, the little fighter turned his face in disbelief, unable to accept the low power of his strike. Analyzing the situation, the blonde master advised that the equipment was definitely not acting according to his true will. Embarrassed, the little boy backed away sheepishly, apologizing for the blunder of almost burning someone else's belongings. Ignoring the mistake, the radiant young woman revealed a beautiful blue bell stored in a special box, describing the item's wonders. Curious, the pink-haired boy examined the bell while listening to how its celestial materials were divided into several rigid layers. Suddenly, the mysterious blue bell began to shake and glow, emitting a powerful and completely unstable electric spark. Without warning, a shower of lightning struck the ground, cracking and destroying everything in a frightening electrical display. Calm as always, the young woman concluded matter of factly that the new, dangerous tool was also unsuitable for his aura. Devastated, the young boy processed the successive failures, feeling the weight of not being able to use fancy tools. Noticing his disappointment, the affectionate blonde extended her arm, ruffling the customer's soft hair to cheer him up. Playfully, she poked the boy's forehead with her candy, sweetly advising that she would now take the tests more seriously. Smiling, the bold merchant put the lollipop in her mouth, showing a clever look as she thought about the next option. With a confident little laugh, the experienced blonde showed she had been saving the best of her magical products up her sleeve. Unexpectedly, a large, fluffy monster let out a tremendous, loud sneeze, drawing all the attention in the well-lit shop. At that moment, the sassy young woman appeared standing on the beast's back, laughing loudly at the comical, rule-breaking situation. Then, the girl presented a scythe with a purple aura, revealing that the powerful blade was made of a rigid, mystical material. Commenting on the tool's legend, the guide mentioned a rumor about intense sacrifices during its expensive and dangerous forging. But the sad conclusion was that no one wanted to use a weapon made and decorated with an arm taken from someone. Then, the friendly seller proudly thumped her chest, smiling and firmly guaranteeing the weapon's excellent quality. A little excited, the brave boy held tightly onto the strange arm bone handle, swinging the heavy and exotic black scythe. However, noticing its slow speed, he furrowed his brow in concentration, questioning if the item was really that good. In the background, a large, intimidating red aura suddenly appeared, demonstrating a dangerously advanced level of combat. Standing nearby and watching the scene, the blonde partner observed the beautiful, fluffy animal react, confirming he was on the right path. Sighing, the calm boy agreed, relieved to understand his natural elemental connections with swords and similar blades. But in the middle of this quick test, with the exotic shadow scythe, another annoying question filled and confused his mind. Disappointed, he stared intensely, his cute face darkening with frustration at being able to notice the limits of the power being released. Knowing this and reading his thoughts, the elegant blonde smiled sweetly, calmly getting his attention by saying his name. Stating the quick and obvious facts, she confidently affirmed his great and rare inclinations towards armed combat with strong swords. Realizing his low capability, the boy offered a delicate apology, confessing it lacked the offensive brutality he was looking for. Looking up at the beautifully strange, tree-lined wall, he slowly extended his hand, pointing his slender fingers in one direction. They stared in awe at a beautiful target resting on a hook, a long sword with a mysterious, super bright core. Kicking back against the thick wall of swords in a cute, relaxed way, the young woman teased the little one's funny, amateurish misunderstandings. Hearing this, he quickly shook his soft little head, calmly affirming his empty memories that held no logical magical levels. Patiently educating him, his colleague explained the importance of expensive equipment with immense capacities for strong spirit. But with a sly and clever smile, she popped candy in her mouth, emphasizing the essential and mysterious magical vital points. Disappointed, he stared with a frown, finding the complex name she mentioned very strange, so the girl offered a new, basic formula in simple words. Playfully taking charge, she dictated a simple mathematical formula that mixed the class level, a strong weapon, and the target's body aura. Rethinking the information, he asked if there was a direct relationship between the time of use of a weapon and its quick synchronization. She promptly answered, confirming his initial theory, and then quickly changed the subject, focusing again on the sword on the wall. Eating a red candy, she explained with a smile that the most advanced weapons also have complex magic mechanisms. Therefore, this is directly related to the level of natural talent, since beginner weapons have simple channels. Even with this lower quality, she tried to argue in a very practical way, calming the client's quick, thinking young mind. So, the truth about using apprentice tools is that they help you become much more intense and strong in less time. Surprised, he listened to these revelations, slowly understanding how all the complex pieces of this great world work together. With that, she said it would be much easier for him to synchronize his strength, and then made an incredible special promotion for her own little shop. She also explained that the amazing sword on the wall was just a decorative toy copy for this dark little market. As a warning, she talked about the enormous difficulty of buying something like that, even mentioning needing help from his mom for the hefty bill. Hearing the warning about the immense high price, he grew sad with tears of disappointment, feeling completely powerless at that moment. In this way, his friend patiently warned him of the harsh realities of using expensive gear, which was focused only on the region's rich, noble families. Standing there sadly, he agreed, understanding that his simple origins kept him far from the incredible purchase he desired. In that tense moment, the intelligent girl decided to change the subject and soon noticed the awaited arrival of his mom. Holding back soft, cute tears, he pretended everything was fine, wiping away the little teardrops that insisted on falling from his silly face. Soon, the street door opened with a smile, revealing a wonderful woman returning, loaded with delicious and fresh groceries. Meanwhile, in another region of the map, in the lush and luxurious grand center of the wealthy city, a brightly lit celebration was underway. Walking down the street, an excited couple strolled along, praising the surprising and wonderful cleverness of their cheerful boy. However, the luxurious, happy world in fact hides dirty, miserable realities, with black rivers in a forgotten, abandoned valley. Nearby, a brave and cheerful adventurer entered the filthy environment, filming everything with old equipment for his friends. He showed, in shock, a pot boiling on a fire, pointing to the sad remains of bones that had been chewed and thrown away. Then, the cruel entertainer mocked the poor little children with horns who were cooking leftovers with moss, as if it were a great delicacy. The small creatures seemed sick because that sad mixture had no good nutrients and only brought dangerous bacteria. Then, in a terrible act of pure malice, he kicked the pot far away, laughing loudly and falsely claiming he was doing it for their health. Continuing his walk through the region, he excitedly kept recording, wanting to quickly show off the makeshift homes of those people. Soon, he mockingly pointed to a wide, dark tube, claiming it was an incredible home, very cool in the summer and good for the winter. Inside that pipe lived a poor, frightened young woman, and the cruel cameraman filmed her, making fun of the place's clear lack of privacy. But suddenly, the screen froze because the immense, strange energy there was too dense and ended up ruining the poor recording signal. In that cruel moment, the villain mocked and trashed the environment, asking his followers for more likes while everyone suffered in silence. The terrible boy ended the video with a huge smile, asking for excitement for the next cruel episode in the dangerous caves. But suddenly, a thunderous kick hit the mean boy right in the face, sending him flying, dazed and completely silenced by the fall. The one who knocked down the cruel boy was an immense, strong guard, and the villain fell asleep, drooling as he collapsed into the enormous dark tube. In the midst of all this, the poor, innocent boy sadly gathered all of his humble, dirty food that had scattered on the ground. At that moment, the powerful bearded man straightened up the area and then signaled the mysterious, shining arrival of his noble friends. Surprised and holding the same pot from before, the noble person with a beautiful style gently asked about the food. Soon, great queenly woman arrived together, and the small, beloved, mysterious, and charming sovereign was immensely startled. The silly, bald-headed boy recognized her at once, breaking into a happy grin and confirming with wonder the incredible royalty. Awestruck by the famous figures, he shouted very loudly and quickly, excitedly calling everyone nearby to come and see. While they were making a simple little fire, some companions listened, stunned and quite amazed by the unexpected, happy news. Quickly, from among the piled-up tubes, everyone appeared by surprise and looked on very excitedly, happily celebrating the queen. At that moment, a wounded boy shouted in surprise that the young woman looked exactly like the famous empress from the newspapers. At that moment, a large crowd gathered in admiration, realizing that royalty herself was there with them. At the same time, a large, wicked man observed everything from a distance, seeing all the confusing movement there. Holding a powerful magic mirror, the evil fellow clearly saw the entire scene, which was shining brightly. He then spoke with an assistant in a strange mask, commenting on the kind young woman's secret trip. Commanding the place, the big man praised the mysterious tool, calling it a huge gift from the region's supreme villain. He raised the valuable golden artifact, saying he could easily watch over almost every corner of the city. The weird lackey praised his boss profusely, admiring his immense cunning and flattering him for a good position in the guard. However, the evil fellow cut off the lackey with a sharp look and ordered his warriors to organize quickly. With sad evils about to happen, the wrongdoers planned their dangerous missions together throughout the Dark Kingdom. Meanwhile, the kind queen cried, holding the suffering residents' hands, seeing the great hardship in the dirty place. The suffering, injured boy sadly explained that the people's coins disappeared easily with so many bad taxes these days. A desperate old woman showed an empty cup, shamefully telling how even a little water was very expensive there. The dear sovereign froze in astonishment, understanding how that whole situation didn't allow anyone to live in peace. At that, the dirty little boy told, trembling, about castle warriors who always visited that group of little ones. With great sadness, they explained the dangerous situations where the bad men would carry the little girls far away. Greatly enraged, the royal girl lashed out, showing pure indignation and commenting on the immense disrespect for the rules. Suddenly, an angry man got upset, loudly cursing the worst false leader, showing immense sadness with the harsh laws. Upset, he lamented that wealth only flies to the rich up top, while poverty affects the little ones. Emotionally, someone pressed their hand against the hard wood, crying over the useless, silly hopes of changing the great place. The sad boy turned nervously, waving his arms in disbelief, seeing so much confusion beside him. Furious, the dignified lady in the hat delivered a big slap to the other's head, harshly reprimanding her for her mistake. Soon, someone armed attacked strongly from behind with a large sword, cursing loudly at those mysterious women who appeared there. But then, with pure shining power, she knocked the man far away, ordering with annoyance that everyone remain calm. In the corner, a very dirty man cried loudly with a limp child in his arms, worried by the insistent cries of an empty belly. In tears, the injured man confessed to everyone that the little one was suffering from weakness and needed something to cheer them up quickly. Crying as well, the resident shouted, holding the fragile, injured little one who seemed weak, begging for heartfelt support. Immediately, the noble princess was shocked and asked her subjects in surprise to quickly get some nice provisions. They responded with great sadness that the secret supplies had already run out, distributed in the older shelters there. Everyone began to look somewhat stunned and resigned to their harsh fate, believing in all the sad, daily evil in the place. At that, in absolute silence, a soldier backed away and walked slowly into the shadows, carefully leaving the place. Nearby, a thin couple affectionately and pitifully hugged the poor little one who could barely stand firm. The young child sighed with closed eyes, falling unconscious into arms heavy and dirty from all the terrible dust of the environment. Then, the most benevolent, divine goddess in beautiful blue robes turned her back, hiding the little one in her soft, comforting chest. Very exhausted from hunger and cold, the poor little baby breathed with great difficulty, trying to find air in a poor state of health. She was held very tightly against the beautiful, soft dress, tremendously startling everyone there with her grand, divine attitude at that moment. Startled, the poor, skinny young man let out just a calm hiccup, impressed, with his mouth slightly open as if paralyzed. Still shocked, they saw the divine, shining tears, and she told them how the great king of the place should help all creatures. Calmly, everyone there looked on, quite static, noticing the noble tears falling sincerely and listening to the wise sermons without arrogance. Hidden in her comfortable bosom, the little one was cuddled, and the brave, shining queen affirmed that she cherished everyone's hearts. Extremely ashamed, the powerful ruler broke down in tears, offering sincere apologies and blaming her own irresponsibility. At this, she cried hard, hugging the little creature, saying she deeply regretted not being able to bring beautiful hope to everyone. However, the queen's face soon changed, revealing with energy that she had married strong figures aiming to regain a lot of control. Surprised, some young men said happily that a certain immense combat school was continuing to swiftly train many heavyweight warriors. With great confidence, the commander bravely promised to reclaim the former riches, fulfilling the old dreams of the leaders. That small crowd began to jump with great joy, declaring their strong, total support and loyalty to the wonderful, kind leader. Full of hope, they raised their great fists together, fully believing in a swift return of the best guards from there. At the same time, a beautiful little one sheltered there by the young woman slowly opened its beautiful, large, shining eyes in the darkness. The curious young people were amazed and let out wide, sweet laughs, quickly pointing out the newborn's great and rapid healing. Everyone smiled happily, affectionately commenting on the ancient, mysterious cures that made the immense weakness go away soon after. The small village ended up being filled with united voices, where the residents became one huge family, surrounding the little baby and laughing. But the Majesty's mind returned, bringing back some old words about the enormous, hard burden she assumed with that great throne. In the sad memories, a previous old royalty appeared, seated, enduring the hard difficulties of this world with closed hands. The pained thought recounted the sad detail, focused on the dangerous help, enduring immense, wicked intrigues at every moment. A dark female figure carried fans, smiling widely and showing great greed through strong marriage alliances. An abusive old woman threw wicked words against the royal girl, planning immense filth using royal powers in a grand future. In distant times, old ladies with white hair tried to show the immense, kind, and affectionate ease of the great nobility. This kind heroine then keeps in her soul the beautiful, smiling friends, passing peacefully through the fond, beautiful old memories. With a beautiful little smile of gentle confidence, the graceful ruler envisioned the pure, protective charm directed at the entire brave nation, and in the distance, certain monstrous divinities joined giant arms, trying to quickly conclude their great and very dangerous new plans. In icy provinces, warmly dressed people walked calmly, paying immense attention to the large, mysterious ice screens. The grand image of the adorable ruler hugging the little one appeared shining on a huge billboard, revealing immense kindness. In mountain villages, large stone statues held the majestic broadcast, showing the great leader's beautiful love. Several warriors observed the tall and enormous urban walls, impressed by the beautiful attitude of the protector of the weak. At this, curious bluish magical lights began to shine intensely in the darkness, revealing a mysterious energy throughout the place. The curious residents touched the shining magical lights and soon watched them turn into adorable, small, vibrant yellow lights. Greatly amazed, the young and old played happily with those beauties, wearing beautiful smiles through the corridors. A peaceful young man rested, sitting on the cold stones, admiring with deep calm a small, shining, floating lantern. A grand and beautiful flight of lovely lights rose into the night sky, completely delighting the graceful royalty with the baby. In that festive moment, happy voices filled the cave with pure and great love, admiring the wonderful starry night together. Feeling enormous happiness, the kind young woman spoke words of farewell, needing to depart after bringing much peace to those souls. The very affectionate inhabitants wished immense protection for the Majesty's long journey, believing in future partnerships. The powerful young woman smiled sweetly, returning the little creature to the sad arms of its father, asking for future loving protection. However, at the moment of the return, a strange, invisible energy hit the poor little one, knocking it into the man's arms. Far away, the wicked sacred villain manipulated immense spotlights, using false, deceitful illusions to spread pure slander. The enormous, wicked one controlled gigantic magical strings, falsely forcing the beautiful princess to enact terrible, horrific movements. In the false projection, the delicate majesty performed quick, aggressive acts, simulating harm to the fragile, defenseless people of the sad place. The real royalty watched in confusion, realizing the wicked lie being spread perversely before her old and great allies. The controlled false image acted violently, haunting hearts and spreading total terror in the minds of the humble allies, and simultaneously, an illusory gigantic weapon from above abruptly pushed away the desperate and terrified peasants. Meanwhile, a mysterious warrior firmly held a magical weapon shining with a strong purple light, ready for great battles. The young boy named Tian held the side with a stern face, remembering the old words of the experienced shop owner. With great determination, he tested the ancient magical artifact against a yellow seal of light, believing he would become much stronger. Using the object in his hands, the boy finally managed to pierce powerful barriers of pure energy that protected the fake target. But the young man clenched his teeth with great anger, feeling pain deep in his soul because of the enormous and agonizing past. Then, a faint memory brought the caring image of a cheerful warrior carrying beautiful purchases and showing great sweetness. Alone in a grand room, the young boy fell to his knees, deeply lamenting the thoughtful way of his wonderful and good mother. Crying a lot, the young man suffered with old wounds, not accepting the deep maternal tranquility in the face of harsh losses. The boy showed the colorful knife bought on credit from the store and determinedly guaranteed that he would never use the enemy's money in his attack. The little warrior swore with angry tears that he would return the amount paid and then save his kind. Lonely in the small, dark room, the little boy knelt thoughtfully while silently planning his next steps. Elsewhere, a female face expressed tension and great distress in the face of the dangerous traps set by the old villains. With a determined look, the fearless young man held the enchanted weapon, promising himself to quickly complete this difficult and long mission. Suddenly, a surprising large bang occurred, violently breaking the calm of that tense and lonely little boy. A sudden and strong blue magical protection saved the young boy from the destruction of the old table, leaving him completely confused. In the other scene, the manipulated royalty sadly attacked against her will, holding her weapon pointed, threatening old innocence. Immense and powerful blasts of energy were fired aggressively, repelling the frightened and confused people far away. The good and wonderful leader suffered, shedding deep tears, desperately begging for all the residents to run. Shocked, the adorable majesty tried to warn her old and faithful companions of the danger, shouting in great distress and sadness. The frightening illusory chaos continued, sadly scaring the harmless crowd, generating a terrible panic in that place. The residents ran desperately, and one of them shouted that they could barely protect themselves, feeling that something was very wrong. Then, an older girl told her friend not to think too much now, as the only way out was to run as fast as possible. At that, one of the loyal guards shouted for his friends to stop the leader without worrying about the strange causes of the confusion. With a face full of anger, the ruler ordered all citizens to evacuate the area before the worst happened to them. Thus, the faithful servants of the royalty agreed with the received order and prepared to help in the great, desperate escape. But one of the nobles was hit by a powerful blue blast and cried desperately for being caught by surprise in the middle of the chaos. The energy was launched by a mysterious hand, and the beams of light trapped one of the men, who was there in the middle of the crowd. With that, the blue power transformed into a killing demon and lifted all the residents who were running desperately through there. The guards were surprised to be captured and wondered how their majesty's demonic power had become so strong. Far away, the true villain used his magic mirror to channel an infinite energy and control the Empress's body. Then, another blast of power, now pink, crossed the skies of that dark valley, aiming directly at the fugitives. the explosion hit the cave's rocks, causing everything to collapse on top of the people who were trying to escape the tragedy. Amidst the rubble, a little boy used his healing ability to treat the injuries of a relative who got hurt. The older one cried, saying he didn't find food but promised he wouldn't let the little one pass away because of that injury. In desperation, he begged for an older man to think of something, remembering the promise made to his late mother. The bearded man then shouted with determination for everyone to climb. As they urgently needed to get out of that cursed valley, he showed the enormous stairs on the rocky wall and said that as long as they kept running, a solution would appear for them. Soon, the crowd began to run towards the stairs, with someone shouting that there was a climbing point just ahead. Meanwhile, the controlled Empress crushed her energy core and ordered the royal guard to resonate with her demonic power. Quickly, a dark energy emerged and attacked one of the warriors who was almost succeeding in climbing the long rocky wall. Suddenly, one of the soldiers had his clothes torn by the pressure of a mystical force that appeared out of nowhere at that moment. At this, an old master with a long beard concentrated his glow in the palm of his hand to try to contain all the chaos there. Then, the beam of light hit the Empress's chest, making her retreat while trying to fight against that forced containment. At that moment, a giant ceiling formation appeared on the ground, creating a pyramid of light to trap the evil sovereign. With that, the old man shouted, calling everyone cowards for hiding behind the young woman who had always cared for them since she was little. Soon, the star-shaped barrier shone intensely, preventing any demonic power from leaving that circle. But the little girl cried, seeing her mentor trapped in that sacred ritual while the energies clashed violently. Observing everything through the reflection, the villain was impressed with the resistance of that ancient imprisonment technique. At this, the controlled leader said that the demonic race was recovering and entering a new phase of evolution now. Then, the young disciple sobbed loudly, remembering all the effort the woman made to restore her ancient people. But the manipulated sovereign stated with a cold look that she would not let anyone harm her subjects or the honor of her kingdom. At that instant, the disgusting fellow moved his fingers on the mirror as if he were moving a puppet in a bizarre theater. While chaos unfolded in the cave, the big city was having a peaceful night with colorful lights and people dining happily. In the meantime, ladies danced lively with pink fans, enjoying the momentary peace of that urban festival. In the middle of the street, a young couple shared a romantic moment while everyone around celebrated life without worries. However, a deafening boom broke the silence of the night, launching flames and smoke in all directions of that square. Angrily, the little boy with pointed ears shouted at the humans to call their soldiers to help right away. Startled, the residents stopped what they were doing and stared at the curtain of dust that was rising quickly between the tall buildings. In the middle of the gray smoke, a female silhouette appeared, standing still like a dark statue observing the whole city. Then, the poor girl, all covered in dust and scrapes, cried out, calling for the Queen Mother with her eyes wide with pure desperation. It continues with the Empress fallen on the ground, murmuring her protégé's name in great pain. At that moment, the citizens ran in terror, asking to warn the palace about the presence of the evil energy. With a wicked smile, the villain continued moving the magical strings in the mirror to torment the poor woman. Even injured, the sovereign raised her arms and began to release a forbidden, very bright and bluish technique. Then, a message warned about the use of a demonic technique, while everyone fled desperately from the urban area. At this, a gigantic creature made of pure blue light appeared over the buildings, frightening everyone who looked at the sky. With all this radiation from the celestial Kulin, the place received a devastating and intense force. Then, several beams of light hit the city, causing explosions and knocking down the people who were trying to escape. Holding his bone scythe, the little combatant stared at the horizon, feeling that the day of his fight had finally come. Suddenly, a thunderous blast happened, completely changing the scene and violently throwing everything into the air. At that instant, a blue shockwave invaded the boy's room, leaving him paralyzed with shock from the sudden intrusion. But soon, his pink-haired master appeared, shouting for the little one to flee from there as quickly as possible. Quickly, the young woman grabbed him by the waist and ran through the debris as the ceiling began to collapse on them. At this, they tried to escape that destroyed room, while the boy wondered when the situation had become so dangerous. In a hurry, the tutor jumped over the barriers, carrying her pupil in her arms, aiming to save her precious companion's life. Then, the young man became desperate and shouted for his mother as tears fell down his dust-covered face. At that instant, the royal leader suffered greatly as the final attack of her spirit shone intensely against the targets. News reports then stated that on January 29th, 3775, a great conflict occurred. On the screen, the data showed that 4,054 demons were eliminated and 547 had vanished. With this, almost 15,498 humans were gone, and 8,426 had vanished. Because of this, the people and the magical creatures were left paralyzed and speechless in the face of that horrible scene. But the human race began to boil with rage, accumulating a deep hatred for everything that was happening there that day. Meanwhile, the magical beings were frightened by the sudden change in their great empress's personality on the screen. At that moment, observers from both sides with any political sense could already feel a war coming quickly. They knew that after that tragedy, the greatest conflict between the species was about to erupt worldwide. Then, we see only the remains of a completely destroyed city, with only smoke and a lot of debris left on the ground. The sovereign then appeared tied to a wooden post, bearing combat marks all over her tired body. Furious, the crowd shouted, calling for the end of that woman's life, showing that hatred had taken over everyone present. With that, the leader with the golden halo stood up, holding his shining purple sword with a very imposing and serious posture. He began his speech, saying that the people had lost their parents and loved ones whom they loved and depended on to live. At that moment, the man recalled that they also lost their precious children and affirmed that this whole tragedy happened there. Then, the bald man took responsibility, declaring to the world that the blame for that whole disaster was his alone. He recalled that 6 years ago, he opened the province's gates to welcome as many magical refugee beings as possible. The man explained that he only wanted to show his goodwill and the sincere desire for peace between the two different races. But the warrior yelled, asking how the demons had repaid that gesture of kindness, showing great indignation. Crying heavily, the survivors heard that their homeland was destroyed for no reason, and the people were hunted without any cause. He stated that they are inferior beings, and the very embodiment of evil that will trample humanity for generations. At that instant, the ruler surprised everyone by renouncing his supreme position, leaving the crowd in total shock. Then, the fighter declared that he would start a war in his own name against the celestial dragon continent, all by himself. He finished by guaranteeing that he would not drag innocents into this conflict, nor would he overburden his former allies. He yelled on the screen that the fire of anger must burn his flesh and the continent must crush his own body. The people watched in shock, hearing that his departure would awaken the last defenders of peace on the continent. But the bald man raised his arms in the video, promising that all monsters must vanish along with the humans. At this, the crowd cheered frantically, shouting that they would follow that commander to the end of their lives. Then, a desperate man begged not to be abandoned by the one who had protected them until that moment. At that instant, a war veteran raised his fist and asked to return to the army immediately to fight against evil. But some people wondered if a single province would have the courage to face an all-out war like that. Because of this, messages on social media showed that many doubted the creature's ability to attack now. In the refugee camp, the atmosphere of hatred was immense, and everyone shouted for the end of all rival races there. Watching the broadcast on a magic slate, someone held the item tightly as the speech continued. The pink-haired girl commented with concern that a great battle seemed completely inevitable. The boy analyzed the situation and thought that the beings of shadow had no chance of winning against the humans. At this, the young man reflected on the capture of the opposing leader and knew that the enemy people must be in despair. He focused his gaze on the magic screen while processing all the heavy political information of that moment. But the little warrior concluded that this plan of total destruction was nothing more than a well-told lie. Thinking about the past, he remembered an old guard who lost their own intelligence after a great loss. The giant dragon observed the horizon, but the animal didn't understand the reason for so much violence between the peoples. With that, the idea of a mutual disaster only served to maintain a false calm for a long period in the kingdom. So, the order to attack would never be carried out, because it conflicted with the desire to protect his own kind. At that moment, the narrative revealed that the young woman was an excellent politician and a master in the art of deceiving everyone. Slowly staring at the object, the young man thought that the author of the plan was a genius, but then realized it was his own wife. In the past, flying among the clouds, the mystical dragon demonstrated that the limit of the ancient power had been reached many years ago. Reflecting on the farce, the boy understood that the secret about mutual destruction would not last forever before everyone. As the war deepened, the truth would be revealed to the entire central continent, generating an unstoppable chaos. At that moment, the boy feared that the 12 stars of calamity would appear to destroy everything that remained of that civilization. Observing the powerful warriors, the little one knew that not even the gods would be able to save the people from this terrible threat. Thrilled with the situation, the ex-leader celebrated loudly, feeling that his evil plan was proceeding exactly as he had planned. Tied to the post, the sovereign heard that in 15 days, the army would be ready for the final attack against her sacred kingdom. Rising his fist, the villain shouted that he would sacrifice the Empress to start a massive invasion against the Dragon Continent. Hearing the words of command, the crowd went wild and yelled phrases of victory, faithfully believing in that false savior. Holding his item firmly, the young hero decided that they needed to rescue the princess before the worst happened to her. Startled, his pink-haired companion called the little warrior's name, trying to understand his real intentions there. Crying heavily, the young woman asked why he was risking so much to save her mother in the midst of so much destruction. Carrying his mother in his arms, the young man demonstrated incredible strength as he fled through the rubble of that destroyed city. With his back turned, the boy walked resolutely, showing that he would not go back on his dangerous mission to protect those he loves. Speaking calmly, he explained that there was no special reason other than the fact that she had given him life long ago. With a serious look, the little one stated that they were now even, and rescuing the sovereign was a natural thing to do. Surprised, the young woman stared at him without words, noticing the determination on the face of the one she had always cared for so lovingly. Meanwhile, the central continent plunged back into the chaos of war, where humans and monsters fought violently. Analyzing the future, the young hero knew that his spiritual power was still low, but he had no one else to rely on. Thinking carefully, the pink-haired mother decided to teach him everything she had learned in life, like how to fight and prepare powerful toxins. With that, the little boy heard that these teachings were the only way he could survive in the midst of this total chaos. At that moment, the woman began to cry a lot and corrected the timeline, saying she wouldn't have 50 days for the lessons. Pleading with tears in her eyes, she asked for just 30 more days to be able to pass her knowledge on to her son. Then, the mother hugged him with all her might while letting out a cry of anguish that echoed throughout the destroyed environment. In the background, the crowd of refugees also fell into despair and began to yell in protest against the injustices of war. Observing the surrounding debris, the little warrior realized that the camp was a true chaos of suffering. On that day, the young man thought his mother was just having another one of her episodes of mental confusion and trauma. At this, the boy remembered that she used to talk nonstop about things that made no sense, and he almost never understood what was being said. Even confused, he questioned why her teachings had a time limit of only 30 days. As the pair embraced in the center of the disaster, a giant shadow loomed over the place, bringing a bad feeling. Revisiting the past, memories showed moments of happiness and pain mixed with the constant noise of the protests. In a bitter memory, a mean merchant yelled about prices while the poor young woman knelt, begging for help. Changing the scene, the little one recalled a sweet moment where he was lifted into the caring arms of his happy mother. But a nightmare emerged, showing someone injured asking him to run fast while green lights tracked their body. Seeing his parents in danger in the past, the young hero felt a deep pain and questioned himself about that terrible day. Then, the young man made a decision that would bring regret for the rest of his journey, but maintained the tight embrace. Asking for everyone's support, the announcement said that the little warrior's final choice would be revealed in the next exciting chapter. With a fixed gaze, the boy reflected in silence on everything he had lost as he prepared for the challenges to come. Finally, he remembered his mother selling research to help soldiers and trying to create defenses against poison attacks. Potian hesitated, calling for his mother with a very sad and thoughtful look in the middle of that serious conversation. With that, he ended up accepting the situation and silently agreed with what was said. Smiling through her tears, the mother stated that in 30 days, everything would be different for the two of them in that place. At that moment, the pair hugged each other tightly, while the people around them shouted and celebrated with great energy. Then, they worked together, nailing boards to the wall, while singing about how life can be as sweet as honey. At this, the duo continued to fix up the small, empty room, trying to bring some order to the destroyed environment. Sighing deeply, the little warrior admitted that his head was a real mess because of so many problems. He then decided to focus on what was most urgent, observing the image of the ruler who remained captured by the enemy. Holding the hammer firmly, the young man planned to get the young woman off that post as quickly as possible to save her. Looking at the wall, the young hero noticed a huge variety of colorful magic talismans available for sale. Upon arriving at the shop, the owner asked if the kid had come back to work because of his family's heavy debts. The young man explained that he needed supplies and asked for 2 lightning, fire, and toxin items, using the coins he had left. But the seller warned that the money wasn't enough, as prices had risen sharply with the start of the war. Walking through the busy street, the little one noticed the constant flow of people, who seemed very worried about the future. Soon, the boy entered a famous pharmacy and asked the young woman at the counter for cinnabar and other ingredients. Surprised, the attendant commented that they were common items and questioned what the real use of so many materials together would be. With a brush in his hand, the hero began to paint a red symbol on the brick wall with great concentration. He maintained full focus on the artistic task, while the people around him discussed the monster attacks. At that moment, 2 men complained that the shadow creatures had crossed all lines during the last conflict. Staring at the mark, the boy reflected that the vision of the 2 species had a difference of 0.03 units. Using this difference, the boy explained that in the past, he mixed a pigment that only magical beings can see. With this, the small changes in the surrounding patterns would indicate the meeting time and the exact coordinates of the invasion. So, this symbol works as the war signal for the assembly and the attack of his ancient expeditionary force. But the warning was clear, as anyone who disobeyed military orders would be duly punished by the martial law there. At this, the little warrior looked to the horizon, calling for his old companions while holding his brush. He then asked how many of them were still willing to fight by his side as he finished painting the high wall. Back then, after the leader's departure, all the officers lost their citizenship rights because of the local nobility. With nowhere to go, the former warriors scattered throughout the human territory, trying to survive in any way they could. Then, we meet the butcher Hong Di, who in the past was the commander of 1,000 men of the kingdom's elite medical corps. We then see the son of the former logistics commander, Ni Kumpton, searching for leftover food to stay alive. But memories show that the warrior Cheng Shiyu was a combat commander who loved her son and lived happily. With that, she walked peacefully through the center of the capital alongside her husband, while taking care of their little baby. Then comes Han Wuxin, who now works with massages, thanking clients for their preference in her service. In the past, this young woman was the commander of the long-range unit, and now she displays her technique in a new job. Receiving the payment, she thanked them for the compliment while quickly and discreetly putting the money in her case. Soon, the girl's younger brother appeared with the cash in hand, confirming that the secret phrase had been said with total success. Excited, the young woman struck a combat pose and decided it was time to move to fulfill her part in the hero's plan. Lying in bed, the couple rested in silence while the darkness of the room hid each of their thoughts. The boy stayed awake and realized that the woman beside him believed he had already fallen into a deep sleep. With that, the young woman finally smiled in relief, as she had solved one of her worries and could now rest in peace. The little boy hesitated, calling for his mother, but realized her decision was final at that moment. With that, The young man sighed and ended up accepting the situation while keeping his gaze focused on his secret rescue plan. At this, the pink-haired woman cried with joy and broke into a radiant smile for having the support of her dear son. Then, the two embraced with all their might amidst the noise of the crowd, which cheered frantically in the camp. While fixing their shelter, the young woman sang happily, trying to forget the pains of war and the losses of the past. At that moment, the duo worked hard, nailing boards to the cracked walls to turn the place into a safe space. Even so, the young hero admitted that his mind was a total mess because of so many urgent problems. He visualized the image of the tide, up Empress, and knew he needed to act fast before her time ran out. Holding the tool firmly, the boy decided the first step was to get the sovereign off that wooden post. Observing the shelf full of talismans, he selected the most powerful items to ensure the success of his mission. Upon entering the shop, the owner questioned if the family's debts were tightening again, but the boy said he was looking for supplies. He handed over the remaining coins and specifically asked for lightning and fire spells for his personal arsenal. But the merchant was surprised to note that the amount was low, as costs had risen sharply with the start of the conflicts. At this, the man yelled, startled by the little one's audacity, and wondered what on earth he was plotting with all that. Calmly, the young man nodded and initiated his secret signal, catching the attention of old allies who were nearby. Then, the former commander Han Wuxin stared at the boy with suspicion, asking who made that drawing on the wall. The veterans gathered and asked how a human knew the secret code of the ancient demonic expeditionary force.